Okay, I think we're going to get started with the meeting. Okay, well, welcome to the Advisory Council meeting, everyone. It's good to have you here. We are going to just, first of all, just to get started, we'll go around the room and do quick introductions, and then we'll go to the people on the phone to do introductions. So I'm Kelly Cole. I'm the director of the Broadband Outreach Center. And we'll go.
I'm Chris Tellington. I'm the coordinator for the Outreach Center.
Oh, can you turn your microphones on? That'd be great.
The button.
You have to hold it down for a second until it turns green. Push it. Yeah.
Lynn Beecher from Skywire Fiber.
I'm Jamie Wiltshire with USDA Rural Development. I'm Amy Eisen.
Glenn Reichert, US Ignite.
Roger Timmerman with Vivint.
Aaron Hildreth, IntelliPop Internet.
Sam Bradshaw, Direct Communications. Donna Jones-Morris, State Library. Kara Toomey, AT&T. Kelly Martel, ABC Report. Good morning, Sharon Bertelson from Ballard South.
Jack Walkenhurst from All West Communications. Corey Coles from Utah Communications Authority.
Jeff Camp from Rocky Mountain Power.
Ryan Marriott with Americom Technology.
Jesse Hudson, I'm the Mapping for Areas for Network Center.
Rick Riley with Immigration Canyon Community Council.
Brett Martin, Blue Hive.
Okay. And then on the phone, could we have people on the phone introduce themselves? Thought I heard some paper shuffling that sounded like.
Okay, this is Melissa Hurst, U.S. Forest Service, Ogden.
Okay.
Good morning. This is Joey Perry with the U.S. Forest Service, and I'm the Washington Office Communication Site Program Manager.
Anyone else?
This is Elisa Potts with Centricom.
Great. Anybody else on the phone?
And this is Lisa Perry with Verizon Wireless.
Okay. Great. Okay, well that sounds great. Well, great. Welcome to the Advisory Council. And we're going to start off with something just slightly different today. We had a sign-up sheet last time for any participants that wanted to do just kind of a quick spotlight on who they are and kind of what they do. And so Ryan Marriott from Americom has kind of agreed to start us off. And if anybody else is interested in doing kind of a quick intro to themselves and their organization, I think we've put a sign-up sheet just by the handouts on the side there. So I'm just going to let Ryan take it away.
Well, hopefully everybody's awake by this time this morning. I don't know why I decided to do this, but I think it'd be good for all of us. I would encourage anybody in this room to get a chance to do this, to step up and just give a little bit of information on your organization. I think it's great to get a chance to know everybody.
Kelly?
Yes?
We can't hear on the phone.
You hold that.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, that's much better. Thank you.
Okay, I'll hold this. I don't like the way I look on TV there. So I was talking to my wife about this morning, and I was telling her what I was doing, and she said, "What are you going to say?" And I don't know. And I was coming up to the meeting, and I was still thinking about it. And I was like, I have a lot in common with everybody here today, because neither you nor I know what I'm going to talk about. So anyway, really quick, I wanted to draw a little diagram, and those of you on the phone may not be able to picture this, but what I'm going to do is draw a little diagram here of a little bit of an ecosystem. So I have a tower and a road, and I have a house, and on that road gets down to some cities. Much like Salt Lake, much like Murray, business here. I'm going to tell you a quick story, and it's a story about how things get connected, and hopefully in 2 minutes I can describe what that does. So in some form or another, Americom has touched your life. You may not even know it. Americom builds the structures that you talk on, the physical layer. So chances are, right now, you're on a network on your mobile phone that we've built an antenna for. Chances are that antenna is riding on a fiber that we put in the street, whether it be the conduit, whether it be the fiber, or some other copper network. Chances are, at your home, if you live anywhere in Utah, you've driven down the road and you've touched multiple antennas that we've built for you via AT&T, Verizon, or Sprint. And when you get to your home, chances are that you've ridden somewhere down a road where we've put in that middle mile for your network. Chances are, when you leave and you go to work in the morning, that you go to a building that's been cabled out by our data technicians. In fact, the very building you're sitting in and this room that you're sitting in has been cabled out by our technicians. Now, we may not support the end user equipment and the iPads that you're on, your devices, whatever your end user equipment is, we may not provide that, but what we do provide is a quality service of the physical layer for you. Once you're inside that building, we all like devices, we all like iPads, we like cell phones, we have things that need reception, right? Well, we also do that. Distributed antenna systems, or DAS networks. In fact, if you were to walk through on City Creek, you'll be on a distributed antenna system that we installed. In Utah, Americom has installed over 30 million square feet of coverage of DAS networks, and we continue to do that every day. Inside these buildings are cubicles, are offices, and each one of those has a data connection. For over 26 years, Americom technology has had the state of Utah contract. That state of Utah contract says that any state entity, a 501(c) company or a federally funded company can purchase off of that purchase agreement. What does that mean for you? Well, any state agency can use our services, not have to go out to bid or spend the money or information needed to go out to bid for that. You can just call us up and we go to work. That's how quick it goes. So, with this diagram and what you've seen here, you can see that you may be thinking, yeah, right, I haven't used anything they've installed. Just today, you are. We're using the teleconference. It's going across the data network that we installed here. So, welcome to Americom. You didn't even know it. So, just a couple quick facts about me personally. I got my involvement in telecommunications almost on accident. My brother and I started a small telephone company in Denver when I was at Utah State. And I moved over to Denver, started that. I started with ICG Communications. After that, US West recruited me. I started with them. We got bought out by Quest. And while I was there, I ran the IOF and Engineering and Planning group. My group did plan and engineer the 2002 Winter Olympic Network, implemented that. One of our contractors was Americom Technology. Americom Technology installed and managed the networks for each of the venues. And we're proud of of that involvement. We're proud of our involvement with Utah. It is something that we do not take lightly. I was born and raised here, and like many of our workers at AmeriCom, we take a lot of pride in our work. In fact, the tenure of most of our foremen that are out on the streets pulling cable, the tenure of our workforce is like 20 years with the company out of our 33 years of business here in Utah. We probably have, out of the executive management, a majority of our executive management's been with us 20 years plus, and that says a lot about a company that treats their employees right and that does things the right way. Not everybody does that, and we pride ourselves in making sure that we follow blue stake laws, that we follow the right certifications. We are certified with Bixby. We're certified with Corning. When we put in Corning fiber, we can warranty that for 25 years. Among the great things, we are the first to bring in, just off the top of my head, directional drill in the state of Utah. Trenchless technology that allows us to do trenching without digging up the street. AmeriCom was the first to do that here in Utah. One of the things I think that sets us apart that I touched about just a minute ago was our people. If you see an AmeriCom van, AmeriCom truck going down the road, you'll notice they're great people. If you interact with them at the University of Utah where we're installing things or splicing for All West, whatever we do, we've worked with and for a majority of the telecoms in Utah. In fact, this morning I was trying to think of ones that we haven't worked for, and I couldn't find one. In some way, shape, or form, we've worked for every telecom, including General Dynamics, who's working for Google, who's a large company. We work for Hill Air Force Base. We in fact, this winter we'll be upgrading a lot of Hill Air Force Base's communications. We're very proud of what we do, and I appreciate the opportunity and the time it has been, and a good time it's been here on the Broadband Committee. And would like to, I have some handouts after. I've got a card. If anybody has any questions on how we can help you, please see me. We would love to help you out. I appreciate it. Thanks.
Is on the council. So I just wanted to do a few quick items of business, and then we'll kind of head on to our main speaker for the day, Jeff Kent, who has come in from the Portland office of Rocky Mountain Power to talk about pole attachments, which I think will be really interesting. He's kind of the guru of pole attachments for Rocky Mountain Power, and I'm sure there'll be lots of questions about that since he's never presented before to the council. So a couple of items. We want to remind you to register for the Broadband Summit. Register early. It helps us kind of get a feel for numbers. And, you know, definitely invite your staff to come. We'd love to have lots of people come to the event, and it's free. We really want to have high participation at the summit. And if you've been following our newsletter, we've announced a few of our main speakers and sort of some of the sessions, but we'll get a better session agenda out to you pretty soon. So Todd Westberg from UPS is coming in, and he actually has some Utah roots, and he does a lot of like the trucking routes and IT for UPS, and I've heard that his presentation is pretty fascinating. So he's going to come and give that, and then we're also having Chris Surdak, which we haven't announced yet on our social media yet, but he works for HP in California, and he authored a book called Data Crush, talking about how companies are marketing to individuals. And it's pretty interesting stuff. He presented briefly at the Public Utilities Committee last month. So those will be kind of our two big keynote speakers. Another thing to note is it sounds like we're going to have a few people from DC coming to attend the Broadband Summit, which we're very pleased about. So we'll probably have a few people from NTIA coming out, I think the director of the School Healthcare and Library Coalition is coming out. We're also probably going to have a few state leaders come out to attend our event. And also, the day after the summit, we'll be having kind of a small state broadband leader meeting with a few states. So they're kind of, I think a few of them are going to try and come to the summit. So it'll be a great opportunity to interact with some of our visitors from out of town. And let's see, I think that was it for the summit. And then we have a couple of handouts on the table. A couple of things. There's a comment period going on about mobile broadband, whether the FCC should include that in the annual progress report that they do. So particularly probably the mobile wireless providers want to pay attention to that and comment on that. And then there's a webinar on August 25th about the Rural Broadband Access Loan and Loan Guarantee Program, and there's more information on the table. And then we also put a couple of press releases regarding the latest on the FCC bidding procedures. And then the FCC has adopted some rules to help Americans communicating during emergencies, and it has to do with kind of backup sources for phone and broadband during emergencies. So with that, we'll have Jeff Kent.
Well, good morning, and I want to thank Kelly for the invitation. My name is Jeff Kent. My official title is Director of Distribution Support. My functional title is I'm the Director of the Joint Use Department for Pacific Corp, and that entails joint use administration for 6 states. I thought I would start just talking a little bit about Pacific Corp. The company is comprised of 3 business units. You're probably most familiar with Rocky Mountain Power. Also have Pacific Power, Pacific Corp Transmission, 1.8 million customers, nearly 6,000 employees, large service territory in 6 states, lots of generation, and a whole lot of poles that folks want to attach to. You can see that we have roughly 367 individual companies, different companies that attach to our poles, comprising nearly 800,000 attachments. And we are not only a pole owner, but we rent space on poles from about 55 other pole-owning entities across those states, and we have about 47,000 attachments on those poles. So who do we rent from? Our biggest landlord is CenturyLink, and I see James in the back of the room there. We have a service territory common with CenturyLink in 5 of our 6 states. So they're one of the biggest sharers of poles that we have. Also, a couple of the other ones are Frontier Communications. And then when you take a closer look and focus in on Utah, I have some statistics here. We have roughly 344,000 distribution poles in Utah, 66 different attaching entities, just under 300,000 attachments, and we rent space on poles owned by about 8 other companies, and those again would be companies like CenturyLink and some of the other electric utilities that we border up against, as well as companies like Strata and South Central Communications, some of the rural telephone companies as well. the thing that I wanted to say about these statistics, on both of these slides, is they're changing daily. So these are snapshots. Poles are getting placed and removed daily. Folks are making attachments and coming off of poles daily. And contracts are getting negotiated every day for new entrants into the market. So Kelly asked if I'd just give just a real high level kind of a pole attachments 101. And so I thought I'd put this slide up there just to help with that. So basic definition of joint use is sharing of poles by 2 or more providers for the safe and efficient use of the right-of-way. Most common entities that we share space with on poles are power companies, phone companies, cable TV companies, telecommunications providers, and wireless providers. And the regulators require us to do this, but whether they do or don't, it makes the most sense. If you think about safe and efficient use of the right-of-way, and you imagine the alternative, all of these folks having their own poles down the same streets, what a mess that would be. So not only is it mandated for investor-owned utilities like Rocky Mountain Power, it makes the most sense. What about my group? I have the joint use group. We're accountable for all joint use administrative policy and cost recovery activity in support of Rocky Mountain Power and Pacific Power for third-party pole attachments. So what does that mean? So my group does the contract administration. That means we negotiate the contracts that set out the relationships between the parties. My group manages all of the access to the poles via the application and permitting process, and keeps all the records for all those attachments. And then my group also does all the coordination with the existing attachers whenever a pole gets moved or replaced, or a road gets widened, or someone new needs to come onto the pole and rearrangements need to be made. My group facilitates all that coordination as well, directly interfacing with the existing attaching entities. And then finally, my group does the billing and the payments associated with joint use, not only for the pole rental, but for the recovery of the costs that the company incurs in this process.
Jeff,
Yes.
a question. What does recovery of costs mean?
Okay. Well, under the regulations, well, there's a few costs associated with joint use. One of those costs is pole rent. One of those recovery costs that a pole owner can charge is pole rent. And so there's a formula that's prescribed by the FCC or the various states that calculate the annual rental rate of a foot of space on a pole. So that's one recovery mechanism that a pole owner has that will defer some of the costs of owning and maintaining that pole. So in order to defer some of that cost,